So the question is difference between an object and a class, right? So what is the object here? What is a class here?
Okay, got you.
Got me?
Yeah. I mean, it's generic one, and these are. I thought in the other way. I thought object was God and classes were Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma.
Yeah. So I will give you in another way. Last time Shruti had used this analogy, so I will give you in another way. Housing board.
Is the class is the upper one or?
Housing board. I'll come to it. Yeah, housing board. Okay. Karnataka housing board. Okay. So they create a blueprint. Okay. They will build. They will build 200 homes. So your blueprint is a class. They made one blueprint, but then they made 200. So what they made blueprint of quarters. Quarter, is this the right spelling? I don't know. Quarters spelling. Quarters, right? Police quarters. You say that quarters, right? Where people stay. So they made a same home. They made the blueprint was given one blueprint, but then they made 200 homes from same design. You getting me?
Okay.
So they made a lot of homes. Okay, but the blueprint was same. Okay, so I will give you another example where it is little easier for you. You are a BRS person, right? You have a contact table, yeah, in your BRS, and it has a cont ID, right? It has a name. It has so many. Yeah. So this is a table. Agree?
Yes.
Your table is a class. This is cont ID 1, 2, 3, 4. These are your object 1, object 2, object 3, object 4. Agree?
Okay.
Yeah. So people call these words interchangeably. They sometimes call it as an object, or you could also call it as an instance of a class. Instance of a class. Okay. So you are making an instance. You have a class called animal. Okay. But then there can be an instance of a dog, a cat, a tiger, and something else, elephant. You're making an instance of that class. You're making different instances of that class. It depends on how you want to use it. You are a designer. Think like a designer. Yeah. You want to repeat the same instance. You want to have 10 dogs. Okay. You make 10 okay, you made 10 instances of animal, and all of them are dogs. Or you made 10 different instances of animal. It is up to you. You with me?
Yeah, got it.
While designing it, it is up to you what you carry. But then your blueprint is telling you could use it either way. You are basically categorizing it. Okay. You can use the way it is very flexible. You can use it as multiple instances of a same object, or you create different type of objects.
Okay.
Any other questions?
If like multiple classes are there, and then the classes relationship will be explained by like which term or any concept?
So there are ways how you do it. Okay, so if I have to talk about the relationships, right? So you have a class X. Okay, or I will give you a real time class. Let me think. You have a class called customer. Okay, and to the customer class I will have I will have an address object. So this is your relationship. You have a class customer, but your address is also in another class. So your address has been referred into this customer. So hence this is called a reference variable. You are referring it. This is a variable, right? The address will keep changing for different customer. You're not going to use this customer class for only one customer, right? It is just a blueprint. You're going to use it for many customers. But then you are referring an address object inside, hence it becomes a reference variable. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
You are going to give the service to the customer. There is another class called service. You write the way, you refer to them the way you want. It's very flexible. And then you want to further extend this, you want to further extend another type of relationship you want to see. You do this class customer extends. There is some class called, I will make it a some super class. Okay, so super is also a separate class. So when you extend it from a super class, the characteristics or the functionality changes. What you get benefit, like a class Raghu extends Hebsur. Okay, class Raghu extends Hebsur, and then class Raghu has something called city. So when class Raghu is extending Hebsur means whatever is available in Hebsur, Raghu gets it implicitly. Raghu is inherently, eligible to get whatever Hebsur family has. Everything inside whatever is defined inside class Hebsur. Okay, inside this there will be a lot of function. Okay, function 1, function 2. So Raghu can make use of these functions anytime. He can easily take them because he's extending. He's implicitly, he has all the authority to use these functions from Hebsur. This is another type of relation. And then city class, there is something called city, right? Class city. Class city, you have referred to them as a reference variable. This itself is a class, but then you have referred them inside your class. You with me?
Yes, sir.
This is how the classes are referred. You can talk to one and other classes. And then the third way is, let us assume you have written a function called work. What work you are doing. What work is Raghu doing? He is taking some input and you are giving some output. So here you will call something like you want to do a work. You will do this. You are invoking job is equal to job. You will do new job. You're calling another, while you want to execute a certain method, you're calling in another class, you are instantiating it, you are awakening it. When you write a new operator, this is going to take and allocate the memory into the RAM. Where does this all entire programming, you are writing this code, your Java code, right? You write this Java code and you then run it. Where does it actually run? It runs onto your memory, right? You write code in your IDE. A lot and lot of IDEs available. This time they are all, now they are also available free online. You can directly write them on cloud, and you compile them, and then your code is available. You will deploy them. Where you will deploy them on a server. It could be many servers, Tomcat. You have VAS. Yeah, this is meant for web application. You have JBoss, many more. Yeah, servers are there. You deploy it there. These are your runtime engines. In fact, you can run it directly on GRE if you're writing a simple Java. Yeah. If it is a web application, you will have to use some web engine. Yeah, these are all web engine. Simple Java, you can run it directly. So you deployed your code, but where actually all this happening? This all is actually getting executed at your RAM of what? It is your laptop. It is being done in your RAM. So whenever you write that new operator, whatever 16 GB RAM it will have, it will consume that memory. An object goes and gets created there. Yeah. So for your question, these are the kind of relationships you will have. One is you can extend and call your super class. When you're designing it, you would have designed it that way. My super government, central government, then state government, then your districts, and then taluk, and then village, panchayat, like that. You can have that hierarchy. If you really know the processes, you could write it that way. And then that you can keep those common methods functions here, which could be used. And then you know that you want to refer to certain variables, you could refer here. And when you want to use them, you could actually call these classes and do it. Clear?
Yes.
Any further questions?
No, Ramesh, until now we are clear.
Clear. So let us try to understand it from another perspective also. Okay, one more perspective where it gets imprinted into your head, right? So see, basically what happens in an IT world, why IT has become very famous. You store the data, we are supposed to store it in a permanent storage system, right? That is why what is all the IT about? You want to store the data into a permanent store, which is your table. Which is a SQL, structured, right? You're storing it into a structured M into N matrix. And then now these days NoSQL have come, little advanced, and your graph has come, graph databases have come. So you're storing this data. What type of data types you store? You store text. You're storing the text here. That is mostly what you are working with. You can store images. You can store voice. You can store video. Right? This is mainly what you do. Inside text, what you will do? You will have an integer, int value. Okay, you will have a float, a decimal value. They gave the names to it. You will have a 1 character value. Yeah, and then they had what? Boolean. Okay, some for you to take a question. So this they call it as a primitive. What do you literally mean by primitive? Very old, right? These are the old, when in 1950s when they used to do a sum function and all, they used to use this. And then we just saw we were the reference variable, right? So your object itself, object type, we say these are primitive types. Any object can be referred, right? For that matter, a string itself is a class. When you write a class XYZ and You declare a variable, you are declaring something. You're saying, okay, this class is going to make use of this string. Why do you have a necessity of declaring a variable? It is just you are telling the RAM, the engine that, okay, I need this much of memory, hence you are declaring it. You're declaring upfront, you're booking a ticket in a theater because you are going to go and watch a movie. So unless you declare, they're not going to book a ticket for you. You're declaring your income. You're declaring upfront that I'm going to come to this restaurant between 6 to 7 and 20 of the people are going to come. Please reserve a seat for me. So you're declaring something. What do we, when do we declare? When we want something to be done upfront, we are deciding upfront. That is why we are writing a class, right? We are deciding upfront. So I'm saying class XYZ string name is equal to null. Okay, so I'm upfront declaring so that that engine knows before, okay, there is something going to come and I need to free up my space. If you are helping that engine to decide, then it will collect garbage collection, it will do, and this declaration will help it to make memory available for you. So object type itself. So anything what you are writing, this is all given by Java or something somebody else is writing. Raghu is writing a class, Vishwa could use it. Vishwa is writing a class, Raghu could use it. Or Shruti is writing a class. Anybody can use their classes, right? You have written a class, you have written a function, anybody could use it. They could reuse it. Okay. That's why this is all very helpful. So object itself is a type. Okay. So hence, and then they made other types. Okay. So they themselves gave you these types. They gave you these types. So they gave you these types, like they made an object of an integer. This is not a primitive type. Integer itself is an object. Okay. String. I think they made decimal. I don't remember. So they made these types and gave it. And then inside, when they gave an object, they would have so many functions inside them. You go and read that function, it will take an input and it will give an output. You read them closely, you get to know what they are doing. Simple. It's just that you have to read them and you will get to know what is an input, what is an output. And if you pass a wrong input, there will be an error. They would have given that also. It is called Java documentation, right? You could easily, whenever in the IDE, you go and you write an integer and you keep your cursor on top of it, it will tell what input it is taking and what output it will give. Yeah. So there are so many classes, right? So this is Java doc. So they just gave you these types. And then when they gave you these types, yeah, so they made these types and they have methods inside them and you can use them. And so the other perspective, right, which I was telling. So you should see the other perspective from this, entire IT is all about this, right? You store the data somewhere and at a later stage, you show it on certain UI. So that is what we typically do. And we are in between, right? The backend developers. The data is available in rows and columns. You query this Oracle or whatever database engine. This understands only SQL. Hence, you make a query to it. When you made a query, we will see that in the code, right? You made it via JDBC. You sent your SQL query to it. So that SQL, this understands only that SQL query, right? You connected to this database, you sent a query and it gave a response to it. So since you used JDBC, the response what would have come would be a SQL output. SQL output itself would have come, but then your JDBC converted that into a result set. We shall see now how it is done. Result set. It converted that into an object, result set as an object. Just give me a second. I'm getting a call, just a second.